Working with stakeholders to independently audit the register will help improve the integrity of the register. Thirdly, provision of consistent civic and voter education as provided by the Constitution to ensure that voters are well informed of their rights and responsibility. 4, punishing electoral offenses and ensuring enforcement of code of conduct for political parties or candidates. Ensuring consistent openness, transparency, inclusive participation, and timely access to information by the IEBC and the other agencies concerned with election management. 6, ensuring that all polling stations are physically accessible to persons with disabilities and the elderly. 7, ensuring the implementation and enforcement of the campaign finance regulation and timely electoral legal reforms to avoid giving an undue advantage to the incumbents. 8, ensuring that the results transmission process is clear and understandable to all stakeholders, and that the Commission shares with the citizens and other stakeholders the final election results in a granular and machine-readable format. 9, maintaining simplicity and transparency of the election day processes, as well as accuracy and verifiability of the results management and transmission processes. 10, ensuring the safety and security of voters, observers, and other stakeholders throughout the electoral process. And finally, reducing the cost of elections in order not to overburden taxpayers. In conclusion, ELOG will issue a final and comprehensive report on the 2022 elections within 60 days of the declaration of the final election results. The report will provide a more in-depth analysis of the 2022 electoral environment, as well as provide far-reaching recommendations on needed reform areas ahead of the next election cycle. We wish to commend all Kenyans for participating in these elections as voters, officials, candidates, and observers. Following the announcement of the results, we urge that political actors act in good faith, promote peace among the supporters, and seek any redress for grievances through the courts of law. God bless Kenya, and thank you. We wish to end there, and annexed to our statement will be the full computation and the table of our PVT sample. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that's a statement from ELOG. As you noted, the statement is quite comprehensive. We even had to truncate, not reading all the facts, and you get copies of that statement. Any questions? Okay. Let's have, yeah.
Yes, I would like to know about the split among the Electoral Commission. What can be the legal impact of what happened yesterday on the legality of the announcement that has been made by the President?
Yeah, no, yeah, just follow up on that came from Bloomberg News. The four commissioners who dissented yesterday on this result, what is your take on that? And what ramifications then do you see on the case?
We get two more for.
Even as we continue asking Kenyans to be truthful, there is one place that has not been that good, and that is the social media.
Thank you very much. We will take the questions together with the panel here. And I will start with a question on the cost of elections and value for money. And what ELOG has consistently raised alongside other stakeholders is that the underlying challenge of our Kenyan election is a question of trust. And the sooner we can resolve that, the better for making the cost of elections lower. If you look at whatever measures are put in place, majority of them are expensive, and it's towards enhancing and making sure the question of trust is addressed. So as a country, if we can consistently work towards ensuring there is trust in the process, and with this election we have seen significant growth and lessons from 2017, if those can be enhanced, eventually we'll have a process that citizens trust, and eventually that brings the cost of elections lower. Thank you. With regard to the legal issues, I'll allow my co-convener, APP, Senior Legal Counsel, to speak to the issue of the commissioners.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, and good morning, members of the press. It is unfortunate that there is a split in the commission. However, the chair of the commission, Chebukati for now, is pronounced the results as the returning officer for presidential elections. That is a role that is given by the Constitution and cannot be taken away. So whereas the fact that the commissioners were not there and did not agree with it, that would be a legal battle in itself. But for purposes of being a returning officer, he was in his right place to pronounce, and he was undertaking his constitutional duty as he pronounced the results. Now, if there is a grievance about the results, definitely the Supreme Court has the sole responsibility of arbitrating presidential elections. So fortunately, we do have...
Sorry, some media houses are requesting you to start again.
Okay, back to square one. I understand that I wasn't audible enough, or some media houses have requested me to go back to it. I want to say this. The Constitution gives the chair of the commission, IEBC, the mandate to be a returning officer for the presidential elections. So just like the returning officers were giving results, announcing results at the various polling stations, for presidential elections, it is the chairperson of IEBC that is mandated to do that task. And there is only one returning officer, and that's the chair of the commission. So when the chair of commission, the chair of IEBC, announced the results, it was his constitutional duty to do so. Now, this is not to say that the results that he announced, whatever it is, that there could have been grievances around the results that he announced. The legal channel to deal with the results after they have been announced is to proceed to the Supreme Court. And we believe peacefully an aggrieved party should be free to proceed to the Supreme Court. And maybe he can use or he or she can use the evidence of the commission as declining. For the purposes of pronouncing the results of these elections, which had to be done, I think the chairperson was in his rightful duty to be able to perform this duty. And I mean, it is from my own perspective, it is a good thing that he did rather than did not, because it would have brought more speculation and anxiety in the nation. Thank you. I think the chair will tell us who will answer the other questions. There's a follow-up question? All right. Mm-hmm. The credibility of the results, once it comes to the question, the Supreme Court will have to pronounce itself on that. With regards to the split, as I've already said, it is an unfortunate thing that they did not speak with one voice, but the returning officer, for the purpose of this, I gave an example of a polling station. There are many people who are in the polling station, but only the returning officer has the duty to pronounce the results. It is the same way with presidential results. There are many actors, the commissioners, but the person who is charged with the constitutional duty of pronouncing the results is the chair of the commission. And if he's, in my view, if he's performing his constitutional duty, I don't see that the absence of the other commissioners can be, but the Supreme Court will have to pronounce itself on that, because elsewhere in the procedures, it says that when the board is meeting, when the commissions are meeting, then there is a quorum for that. So the Supreme Court will have to deal with, was this a meeting for which the board had to meet the quorum? That is a question for the constitutional if the petition is taken to Supreme Court, the Supreme Court will pronounce itself on that. I beg your pardon?
One.
3. Yes.
Okay. We want to first.
Just a moment, if you get a question, we'll come back to you. Let the chair.
Yes, we just want to now speak to the issue of
The system of putting something together.
yes. Thank you. On the question of social media, I think it's important to first celebrate the gain that there has been access to information throughout this electoral cycle. I think we've not seen any interruption of social media or any kinds of media. However, of course, with social media comes the responsibility to correctly inform, and questions of misinformation or disinformation did not start on the 8th of August, even before. We knew that there was need, and there had been a lot of stakeholders who had been asking and calling on Kenyans to correctly convey information or to fact check. So I think for us, what we'd like to call upon Kenyans is that you still have social media that is a powerful tool for information. It has been instrumental. However, on matters election, it has been clear we need to fact check. And for any questions in terms of, for example, any issue that has to do with the results, the official source, as has been stated consistently, has been the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. So we hope Kenyans will be able to interact with that, and whatever information is being relayed, even at this point, our appeal is a use of the media responsibly, and the question of fact-checking. That is very, very important. But bottom line, as we have stated, we herald the celebration and the gains, and notable that Kenyans need to appreciate is we've actually had an electoral cycle that has not had any social media interruption. That by itself is a milestone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before you ask the next round of questions, I know they are coming. Please remember that we are observers, and as observers, we observe on the basis of our findings, we give you an opinion on the basis of that. So don't ask subjective questions in terms of somebody, what we think about this, what we think of that. We have findings, we can talk from our findings. If you want individual questions, you can always see senior on the side, see Ron on the side, and ask the subjective questions, but we are presenting the ELOG position. So let us maintain that. So who else is asking this? Yourself, when you come to you.
I think, I don't know if I got right. I just want to know, maybe as observers and your findings, from where you are sitting, do you think the drama that preceded the declaration of presidential result and the split, maybe, was it credible from where you are sitting?
I'm not sure that question is very clear. Drama is credible?
No, it's drama like presidential declaration of that secretary performance. From where you are seated as observers, do you think what you are finding was the result of the election?
You mean does that affect the results?
Yes, exactly.
Does that affect the results? Okay. Yes, and then you come.
I know, just a point of probably you said you are observers. Are we expecting another report based on yesterday's exact incident on the podium, what happened yesterday with the fracas that happened? Should we expect another report, or this is the last report?
drama. But it's okay. The only issue that you have to remember that we are observers. And observers, we were not sitting there taking notes of what was going on. We were sitting there, we have observed the entire election process. We have given you our PVC projections, which speak to the results, but we also spoken on other issues. So the drama, we all witnessed it together with all of you. Whatever happened in the back door, in the back rooms, we are also trying to find out.
Expecting a report.
Okay.
We have a report
Very
60 days.
If you're getting more information, you should be able to share on that. But let me ask her also to.
Hi, I'm Lori Condi of the World Radio. Apologies if you've already addressed this, I was late. But what observations do you have of the behavior of political agents and politicians during this election period, especially how it compares to previous elections?
Okay. That's a clear question. Any other question?
You observed election fraud across the country. So I wanted to ask if there was consistency in terms of the final decision on not changing the manual register. Was there consistency in applying this across the country?
Thank you. One final one. Okay. We'll take the next chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will start with the question about the behavior of the political class. I think in our statement, we have reiterated over and over that we appreciate the peace and the calm that Kenyans in general have been able to observe. It has been a longer wait, but Kenyans have been very patient and have been calm. And for us, what we have raised is that any disagreement or any grievance, the law is very clear on where that needs to be taken, and that's the courts of law. So we really want to laud the Kenyans, and for the political class, our appeal as well as leaders is that they are aware of what channel to be able to take their grievances, and we hope that they take that channel there, and that channel is the courts of law. So that is very important. In terms of the consistency, as we have indicated, our PVT report is based on our sample stations. And so part of the findings, as we mentioned, is that we needed clarity on the manual register, which is part of our report. So again, to reiterate that our PVT results are based on the sample stations and the observations that we observed from these sample stations, which include the issue of the manual register, and it is contained in our statement. So I want to believe we have answered all the questions.
Comprehensive report within 60 days.
Yes, and we shall be issuing, just in addition to the question on the report, we shall be issuing our comprehensive report within 60 days. So once it is out, we will also encourage you to interact with it. We'll be available to answer questions. But again, we encourage you, as you receive copies of our statement, to interact with it comprehensively and to get the main issues that have been spoken to at this point.
Okay. Thank you very much for attending the press statement. Like the chair said, we have issued 3 statements before. I think the question that you are asking actually is part of the things we are covering on election day. It's part of our statements. If you can be able to retrieve them, we have them on our website. So we've spoken to the election day, we have spoken to the pre-election period, and we've spoken about the immediate post-election. This was basically the PVT findings. The chair said we are going to be sharing a full report on all these things that we've been able to observe, and of course we'll also be picking up most of the other issues in other media engagements, including in media interactions where our leadership will be coming to be able to give much more clarity to the issues that we're spoken about today. So thank you very much, and have yourself a good day.
Thank you.
You'll get a signed copy from as soon as the chair signs this. You should be able to get signed copies.
Thank you. Thank you. Oops.
Here, chair.
Thank you.